Good afternoon, all of you. Welcome to EduTap. I am Surbhi Sardana and welcome to this session on ACE answer writing for RBI Grade B Phase 2 examination. If the audio is clear, if you can see me speaking but you cannot hear anything, let me know in the chat section. If you can see me properly and hear me properly, all those guys, again, just send a ping in the chat section. Just send a thumbs up or just wish good afternoon or anything that you like. Just post in the chat section if audio video both are clear. Then we'll proceed to seeing what we have today for our answer writing, that is descriptive class. Meanwhile, you can also look at the banner here. Yes, so we have like quite a lot of you online right now. Anyone of you, like, can you hear me? Can you see me? All right. Okay. So, yes. So again, a very warm welcome to EduTap. This is our, we have been continuing these classes since last Friday to teach you answer writing, to teach you the skill of answer writing. Okay, Jacqueline is back again. Audio, video clear. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Otherwise, your teacher keeps feeling that she's teaching, but it's not reaching to anybody out there. So very much gratitude from my side. Yes. So this is a session on ACE answer writing for RBI Grade B Phase 2. For those of you who are watching this session for the first time, we are bringing up these live sessions every day regarding Phase 2 descriptive writing part of your syllabus for RBI Grade B. Last Friday we started and we have taken a series of sessions basically to teach you the skill of answer writing, to tell you how to approach answer writing, how to present your answers so that you can get more and more marks on the descriptive paper with the same amount of knowledge that your competitors have. So today it's the economic and social issues part 3, the third session for ESI, that is economic and social issues. This is what we are taking here, and let's see what we have. So see, there are, there are people out there who are following us on a daily basis on YouTube, while there are many of you who need a direct guidance, those who are taking Phase 2 this year or next year. So there is this live crash course that we've come up with for RBI Grade B 2023. There is a flat 50% off we are offering because we have just a few days left. In the crash course, you'll have access to live classes. The teacher would be live there. You do not have recorded lectures in this. You will have a teacher sitting there right in front of you in the session, and you can get all your doubts addressed there. Then the teachers would be providing you with short notes, mind maps to remember more effectively. Then current affairs would be updated, all the information with updated current affairs that would be provided to you. And with that, we also have test series attached to this live crash course. If you buy a live crash course, you do not have to buy these standalone test series that appear on this side. So the plan for test series appears like this. You have two tests for ESI, one objective, the other one is descriptive. Then you have two papers for finance and management, again objective and descriptive. And finally, you have current affairs test and full length mock test. So see, if you purchase the live crash course, you do not have to buy a test series, or if you feel that your knowledge is enough, you just have to take some mock test. Go for this approach, take the test series in the standalone format. All right. So yes, as I always reiterate to all my students, you can write great answers. It's just about how you think and present your information. So stay tuned, and it's guaranteed that you will be able to write great answers. Again, I'm sharing the schedule with you. We started on July 14, that was Friday. We understood how to write good introduction for your answer, good body parts, and good conclusion for your answer. Then we started with discussing this ESI module. For ESI, we have taken 2 parts of the syllabus, divided into 2 sections on Wednesday and Thursday. And today, Friday, that is July 21, this is ESI part 3 that we are taking, and ESI part 4 would be taken tomorrow. From Monday, we'll begin with finance and we end with management by next weekend. All right, by next Friday. And the timings for these sessions, they are always the same. I come live, I interact live with you every day at 3 p.m. except for Sundays. That's for you to revise and for me to take a break. Yes. So again, this is your plan of examination. Here we are focusing on paper 1, economic and social issues. The objective part has 30 questions and the descriptive part will have 6 questions. Out of that, 4 have to be attempted in a time span of 90 minutes, and each of these sections award you 50 marks. So right now our focus is on this part. The subjective part is being taken by Kritika ma'am in our live sessions. You can click on the live part on our YouTube channel and there you will see all the live sessions. So here, this is what we are trying to address. This is what we are trying to learn. Now let's move ahead. So all the old participants, you know how it works. I prompt you to write an introduction or to give me features for the body parts. So we understand that how to write answers here. We carry out discussions in the live chat section. So any one of you who is new here, do participate. Do type your answers, especially if you're using a desktop or a laptop. Do type your answers. It will help you practice more so that you're able to crack the exam. For today, we have third part of your syllabus from ESI, that is globalization. Globalization, basically, you know, it consists of 8 subtopics. First one is opening of Indian economy. Opening of Indian economy, this can be, you know, traced back to the LPG reforms. So if this part of this part of syllabus shows up, you will be able to handle any question, I'm very sure. Then you have the balance of payments, export import policy. This is something we are focusing upon today, very important. And why is it important? I'll ask you in a while. Then you have international economic institutions. This part is always very important. Then you have IMF and World Bank. 4 and 5 can be related. Then you have WTO, again 4, 5, 6, these all can be related. Regional Economic Cooperation. Earlier your RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, was in news, so it appeared on the phase 2 examination as well. But now it's out of news. It has not been in news for a very long time. So we'll not be focusing on regional economic cooperation as of now. And then we have international economic issues. So see, today again we'll be taking 2 questions. What we are focusing on is export-import policy. Can any one of you tell me the recent update regarding export-import policy which has happened in the past 3 months? Any update which you feel from this topic a question can be asked? Anything that you feel? Just let me know in the chat section. You must have been following current affairs. So if you feel that, you know, some topic from this export-import policy part of your syllabus is important for especially phase 2, that, you know, they can ask you a full-fledged question in phase 2. So yes, Kunal Gupta says FTP, foreign trade policy. Anyone else? Anybody else who has anything to add? FTP to 2023, new foreign policy. Aman, it's not new foreign policy, it's foreign trade policy. So I think all of you agree, all of you who are preparing for phase 2 agree with me that foreign trade policy 2023 is a hot topic. We delayed the latest foreign trade policy for 2 years, and now since April it has become active. And what is a policy, if I have to tell you? If you have to tell me what is a policy, policy is basically an outline document. It sets the aims of government. It is not effective or applicable until unless laws are passed. So policy basically gives you an idea that what is our aim in the next 5 years. India has become second largest exporter of mobile phones. Yes, Vanshdeep, that's right. UCC, Uniform Civil Code, yeah. That's right, but that is not from export-import policy part of your syllabus. Target to turn by 2 trillion by 2030. It's 5 trillion. Okay, 2 trillion by 2030. It's like 5 trillion by 5. It's like 2025 has a separate target. So yes, all of you are right who are talking about foreign trade policy 2023. So yes, we'll be taking a question regarding foreign trade policy. Highlight the key features of foreign trade policy 21 to 26, answer in 600 words. And the second question will focus on World Trade Organization, answer in 400 words. Now you might find that these questions are very straightforward. See, your economic and social issues questions, they will be very straightforward. You will know what to write, either one thing or the other thing, that you will not know what to write. All right, so we'll focus on what we know and how to present it. So let me take you back to the previous slides. For those of you who are joining this session for the first time, our first step in this approach is we find the keywords and then we find the qualifying words. Okay. First step is find keywords in the question, then find qualifying words in the question. Your keywords are your topics and qualifying words are your opinions. Opinion that the examiner has. Then recognize the directive in the question. What is women empowerment? And discuss women empowerment. These two are different questions. All right. Then we frame micro questions. That's the third approach. And finally, after understanding the first 3 points, we write a structured answer which has introduction, body, and conclusion. All right. That's what we do. Now moving on. This is going to be our answer blueprint forever. Like, you know, we have a separate introduction in our answers, a separate main body, and a separate conclusion. How to write these separate parts? You can download the PDF of this session after the session ends from our Telegram channel and look at details of all these things. If you're joining this session for the first time, go back to the previous sessions that I have taken separately on writing introduction, body parts, and conclusions. So let's move ahead and let's begin writing our answers. So I think it's time to take the first question. Highlight the key features of foreign trade policy 2021 to 26 or the foreign trade policy 2023. Answer in 600 words. How will you start writing the answers? First of all, what are the keywords in this question? Identify the keywords and let me know in the chat section. What are the keywords? And if there are any qualifying words, that is any opinions that the examiner is giving to you. And what is the directive here? 3 things should be very clear. Keyword, qualifying word, and directive. What are the keywords in this question? Let me know in the chat section. Keywords, qualifying words, and directives. Let me know the keywords, qualifying words, that is opinion-based words, and the directives in the chat section. Yes. So basically, keyword is your topic. Keyword is the topic that has been asked in the question. Yes. Keyword is your foreign trade policy. Sorry, keyword is foreign trade policy. So keyword is foreign trade policy, FTP, the latest FTP. Does the examiner have some opinion regarding this FTP? Is he asking you to praise, or is he asking you, is he saying that he does not like it? There is no qualifying word. There is no opinion. There is no qualifying word here. What is the directive? What is the directive? Yes, Kunal, no qualifying word. What is the directive in this question? Highlight, yes. Highlight is your directive here. And what do you mean by highlight? When I say highlight the key features of FTP 2023 or 2021 to 26, what do we mean by that? What do I mean by the directive highlight? When do you highlight something? When you want to make something important. When you want to emphasize that this thing is important. So what do you have to write in your answer? You have to write the key features. Key features only. All right. Emphasize on the key features. Yes, Sarish. Most important points. Your foreign trade policy is a huge document. It's like hundreds of pages long. but you cannot write all the points there. So the examiner will ask you write down the key features. Key features, how will you get to know what are the key features? Anything that the Minister of Commerce, while announcing foreign trade policy, has talked about in the speech. Anything from the policy that your Prime Minister has talked about. Anything from the policy that has appeared on PIB. So these are your key features which are floating around in newspapers, on PIB, in ministerial speeches. These are your key features. All right, and look at the word limit here. It is for 600 words. You just cannot give a list of 10 points. You will have to expand it. It will be like a small essay. You will have to talk about each and every feature. If the government is planning ease of doing business, how is that ease of doing business being planned? How is it being executed? What will the government do? So you'll have to explain as well. All right. Yes, clear and concise summary of the key features. How many of you know the key features of foreign trade policy? Just let me know in the chat section. Yes or no, whether you know it or you don't know it. How many of you have studied the foreign trade policy, and how many of you clearly remember the features of foreign trade policy? So keywords are foreign trade policy. There is no qualifying word. How many of you remember? Out of how many of you can I expect that yes, some inputs can come for my body part? For the body part of this answer. No yes and no coming? All right. Okay. Target for 2 trillion economy by 2030. Yes, that is the goal. That is the objective. Now, our body part, conclusion, and intro. These are the 3 key steps, 3 key parts of our answer, and they have to be separated by adequate spacing. So in the body part, I think we are clear that we just have to talk about features. So if you remember features, then it's okay. If you don't remember them, then obviously you cannot attempt this question. All right, here we are discussing the data as well. We are discussing the content as well. So I am assuming that you know the features, or if you don't know, just study with me. What will you write in the introduction? I'm sure you remember at least something about foreign trade policy. So what will you write in your introduction? How will you start your introduction? And now there were 4 ways to start an introduction. There was definition or explanation. Definition can be there, explanation can be there. There was data, there was example, and there was quote. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of these 4 things, what will you use to write your introduction? Or will you use all of the 4? Definition, explanation. Second is data. Third is example. And fourth is quote. What will you use to write your introduction? Yes, Kunal, that's right. That's right. How will you start your introduction? How will you start writing your introduction? Definition, data, explanation only. So Jacqueline is writing that he will define what is a foreign trade policy. He will give some data about it. Some data would be given. For example, what is the aim and objective of this foreign trade policy? Then some explanation would be given. For example, the components or the major objectives or the major goals or the major pillars of foreign trade policy. Can we do that? Let's make it clear to somebody reading it for the first time that what is a foreign trade policy, because this is a tough term. What is a foreign trade policy? Where and how it is used? What is the latest foreign trade policy? And till which date it is applicable? And what are its objectives? What are its main aims? So that will form our introduction, few lines, and body paragraph 1, few lines. Then we'll start writing the key features. Is that right? All right. So let's focus on our introduction. We'll come back to writing the body paragraph and conclusion. Foreign trade policy is a set of guidelines and instructions established by Directorate General of Foreign Trade in matters related to the import and exports of goods in India. This is from your export and import policy part of syllabus. So this basically defines what is a foreign trade policy. So this is a definition that we've started with. Foreign trade policy is a set of guidelines and instructions established by the Directorate General of Foreign Trade in matters related to the import and export of goods in India. Let's explain this a bit further. Who releases it? The Government of India and the Ministry of Commerce and Industry release foreign trade policy every 5 years. After every 5 years, a new foreign trade policy is released. It is a policy document, FTP 2023. What is it? It's just a policy document. It's not a legislation. It's not a law. So it's just a policy document which is based on continuity of time-tested schemes, facilitating exports, as well as a document which is nimble and responsive to the requirements of trade. What we are doing here? We are appreciating FTP 2023. This one line that was appearing in all the newspapers. What is Foreign Trade Policy 2023? It is a policy document which is based on continuity of time-tested schemes. That means continuity of time-tested schemes means old schemes have not been done away with. Old schemes are continuing. Continuity of time-tested schemes facilitating exports, which are helping India export its goods and services, as well as a document which is nimble. That means very fast active, very proactive and responsive to the requirements of trade. That means they're saying that all the previous schemes have been kept which were actually aiding our exports, and now because of this policy is also very responsive to the new requirements. So basically we gave some information, that is we gave some explanation, and then we talked about we basically appreciated it. We talked about its broad outline. What is its aim? Now moving on to body paragraph 1. Let's talk about its more aims, major aims or major components. So through this policy, I was seeing this a lot. US $2 trillion economy by 2030. Through this policy, the government aims to increase India's overall exports to US $2 trillion by 2030 with equal contribution from goods and services. Services can be exported, goods also can be exported. So the government aims that right now we are exporting a lot of services, IT sector. We want to export more goods as well. So equal contribution from merchandise and services sector. Both of them have been included. So this is a very important point. Very, very important point that you have to emphasize. Again, some more data. The third objective is that the government intends to encourage the use of Indian currency in cross-border trade aided by a new payment settlement framework introduced by RBI in July 2022. If you remember, few months back, there was news that there are Russian banks which have set up their branches or they have opened their accounts in India. And we are paying for crude oil of Russia in rupees. Few days back, your Prime Minister was in France. So what was he dealing with? What was he talking about? To be able to pay France in rupees itself, not in dollars. So do you think that foreign trade policy it is being activated? Yes, Jharkhand, de-dollarization, very important. So three objectives had been identified. First one is create this US $2 trillion economy by 2030. Second, encourage equal contributions from services sector also. Right now services sector has a great contribution, and the merchandise or goods also. This does not have a lot of contribution for our exports. Then third is encourage the use of Indian rupee in international trade, in cross-border trade. All right. So what we did was, very intelligently, we described what is a foreign trade policy and who releases it. When does this organization release it? Every 5 years. Then we came back to FTP 2023. That what is it doing? What is its aim? It is based on what? We talked about the document, that it is based on continuity of old schemes while taking into picture responsiveness towards trade. Then we highlighted its goals. Now we'll move to the key features. How is foreign trade policy achieving these goals? Now, can any one of you tell me that why have we written the goals of foreign trade policy first, even when they're not asked in the question? The goals have not been asked from you in the question, but why have we written the goals? Why can't we go and answer key features of foreign trade policy directly? Why can't we do that? Why can't we answer key features of foreign trade policy? The question is, highlight the key features of foreign trade policy. Why can't we directly jump to that part? Why are we including this body part 1 where we are talking about goals or objectives of foreign trade policy? Why are we doing this? Yes, Sarish, that's right. Anybody from the chat? Why are we writing about the goals? For better understanding of policy and its purpose. That's right. The aim of your answer is to present the foreign trade policy and its importance in a very beautiful format. If the goals are not clear, and these goals, they're not even taking 50 words of yours, they're taking 2 lines only. If the goals are not clear, then your features will not make sense. Now we have given the goals. Then in the next few lines, when we highlight the features, we'll see that how merchandise trade is being promoted. What is the government doing to increase the exports? How exports are being increased. So now your features will make sense to you as well and to the examiner as well. If some part of the question is not asked, some part of the question means components, goals, aims, and that part is taking less than 50 words, and rest part of the answer will not have enough words to complete 600 words, then include such parts. A policy always will have a theme or it will have a goal. You can do this in 1 line also, but definitely include it. All right? You cannot write 600 words for just writing features. Yes, that's why, brilliance. Iqbal, that's right. Yes. And there will be times when loopholes of something will not be asked, or a way forward. Forget about loopholes. Solutions regarding a problem will not be asked from you directly. But there also we write a way forward. We give 50 words to our way forward, 50 to 60 words. Why do we do that? Because we are having a conversation with the examiner. Writing an answer is equivalent to having a purposeful conversation with the examiner. So your conversation should be complete. It should not have unwanted parts, but it should be complete. So this is a newspaper clipping. For all of you who do not know the salient features, the target is achieving $2 trillion economy by 2030, not 2 trillion economy, 2 trillion exports. Keep this in mind. All right. Continuous and responsive framework with no end date. Responsive means any problem with exports, that complaint should be handled. Responsiveness should be there. Making rupee as a global currency, these 2 things we've written. Making India a trade hub. Obviously, India imports so many things. If you start exporting also, you will ultimately become a trade hub. We are the biggest market of the world. So if you boost your exports, especially in goods, then you will become a trade hub. Digitization and faster processing of applications. Why? Because then export will be promoted. People will feel that yes, India is processing complaints and my orders at a faster rate. So digitization. Amnesty scheme for shortfall in export obligations. Restructuring of Department of Commerce so as to focus more on export. Your department or Ministry of Commerce releases this foreign trade policy. So restructuring will occur here. Over 50% reduction in threshold for recognition of star trade houses. We'll see this in a while. So include these parts in your features and the rest of the ones or the ones which need explanation we are discussing. Let's move on to body part 2. Here we'll talk about the key features. It is first of all based on 4 pillars. Your foreign trade policy, how will it achieve the key features? It is based on 4 pillars. First of all, incentive to remission. Export promotion through collaboration. Collaboration between exporters, states, state governments, districts, and Indian missions. Indian missions means Indian embassies abroad. Third, ease of doing business, reduction in transaction cost and e-initiatives. Then there are emerging areas which India will target. E-commerce developing districts as export hubs. 4 districts have been identified. Streamlining special chemicals, organisms, materials, equipment and technology. This is SCOMET policy which has been launched. SCOMET policy will be given focus. Very important for your exam. Special chemicals, organisms, materials, equipment and technologies. I'm coming back to your answer, Suraj. Now look at the key features or important initiatives under this. First of all, process re-engineering and automation. What do you mean by this? The policy emphasizes export promotion and development, moving away from an incentive regime. They would incentivize previous companies to export their products to a regime which is facilitating. Now people should be motivated to export their products. Based on technology interface, everything will be online. Billing, transactions, everything, approvals and principles of collaboration. Now we did a question for MSMEs in our first lecture. So this will help your MSMEs also. It will boost MSME, reduction in fee structures, IT-based schemes. It will make it easier for MSMEs and others to access export benefits. All right. Second one is towns of export excellence. Very important, TEE. 4 towns have been identified for facilitating exports. What are these 4 towns? Faridabad, industrial town. It is an industrial city. It is an industrial town. So obviously wherever your industries are, from there only exports can occur. Faridabad. Mirzapur, from where your Tropic of Cancer is passing. Moradabad and Varanasi. Varanasi for its textiles. Have been designated as towns of export excellence. They will be promoted better and exports would be promoted from these towns. And they have been added to the list of existing 39 towns. 39 towns were already there for export excellence. These 4 have been added. They will have priority access to export promotion funds because the government knows that anything produced here will be exported. It will actually bring foreign money to the Indian economy. So that's why these towns, 39 plus 4, they will be given priority for export promotion funds. Any help that the government can give will go first to these towns under the MAI scheme and will be able to avail common service provider benefits for export fulfillment under the export promotion capital goods scheme. Now, recognition of exporters. How will you recognize exporters? If you have to promote them, the first step is to recognize them. They will be recognized with status based on export performance. Will now be recognized with partners in capacity building initiatives on a best endeavor basis. Starring approach will be given. All the firms which are good in exporting, have goods and services which are being exported to other nations. Starring will be done to encourage them to provide trade-related training based on model curriculum to interested individuals. You have each one teach one scheme going on. So based on the stars, each one teach one scheme is going on. Similar will be for your corporates or companies or exporters as well. If an exporter has, let's say, very good number of stars, then based on a curriculum, he or she can guide other exporting companies. Promoting export from the districts. Now, how will you promote exports from small districts or other districts except for the 39 plus 4 towns that we studied? So it aims at building partnerships with state governments and taking forward the district as export hubs. Every district will be promoted with one product. Let's say you stay in one district, your district is famous for, let's say, mushrooms or tomatoes. Then that product, one district, one product scheme, I'm sure you must have learned about it. So one product will be identified from each of the district, and the people there will be motivated to export their products. Promote exports at the district level and accelerate the development of grassroots trade ecosystem. Streamlining SCOMET policy, this is something we've learned. Special chemicals and all the things that are included. This policy will be streamlined here. Finally, facilitating e-commerce exports. What are e-commerce exports? It has outlined the intent and roadmap for establishing e-commerce hubs and related elements such as payment reconciliation, bookkeeping, returns policy, and export entitlements. E-commerce means all the trade that happens online. So Indian companies, Indian websites also will be facilitated for carrying out e-commerce. There's so many websites you operate which belong to foreign people or foreign companies. Still you are able to purchase products from them because they have good e-commerce policies. Any other feature that you want to add up here? Yes, Suraj, that's right. Yes, Brilliance. Yes, Brilliance, very much right. Now, how will you conclude this answer, or how will you conclude this conversation regarding foreign trade policy? Will you appreciate it? First of all, how will you conclude? Will you give a way forward? Way forward is always given for a problem. All right? Will you appreciate this policy and the government, and you will say that in by 2030 we'll be able to achieve our goal, or in the times to come India has a very bright future, or exports will be promoted. Third, will you summarize the key features? Fourth, anything that you feel like. Fourth is up to you. Let me know in the chat section. Yes, sorry, says that he will appreciate. Conclusion. Suraj, how will you conclude? Can you paraphrase the question statement here? What is the question statement? Highlight the key features of Foreign Trade Policy 2023. So there is nothing in question. There is no question. So you cannot paraphrase the question statement also. You do not have to give a way forward here, because again, this is not a problem. This is something the government has launched. You can appreciate or you can summarize that yes, with the above mentioned steps, this is a step in the right direction. Don't use these words. I'll tell you which words to use. But your objective should be appreciate by summarizing the above objectives. All right. So let's see the conclusion. Foreign Trade Policy 2023 is a policy based on the principles of trust and partnership with exporters. Very important. Trust and partnership with exporters. Sometimes the payments are delayed. Sometimes approvals are delayed from government side. So exporters, they lose trust in government. They feel that no, exporting is a very big challenge. If you produce something at your household, or somebody near you produces a good in MSME, in a medium and small scale enterprises, do they export such goods? They don't, because we always feel as Indians that exporting is a very big challenge. The aim of the government is to promote goods and services, export of goods and services from districts, from MSMEs. Everybody should feel like, yes, we can export our goods. How is China growing? China has small industries set up inside room. Even if they have one room extra in one house, they start an industry there and then they export their goods. That's why it has grown so much. So that is what India is aiming for. So FTP 2023 is a policy based on the principles of trust and partnership with exporters and aims to process re-engineering and automation to facilitate ease of doing business for exporters. So ease of doing business for exporters, this is the primary objective that we have here, that everybody in the country should feel that yes, if they're producing something, they can export their goods or services. India aspires to be a $5 trillion economy by 2025. Now pay attention here. Previously, we have written aim of FTP. Aim of FTP was to have $2 trillion of exports by 2030. Exports by 2030, $2 trillion. But here what we are saying that India aspires to be a $5 trillion economy by 2025. Digits are changed here. Our target date is changed here. Target year is changed here. So you can always use this in your economy answers that this is our goal and foreign trade policy will help us towards this. Digitization will help us towards this. All right. So use this data in your favor. To achieve this dream, India needs to register a GDP growth rate at a growth rate of 8% or more in the next few years and triple its exports to $1 trillion by 2025. This is again some data you can remember. So FTP, we have highlighted that yes, this is our requirement and FTP fulfills this. FTP can serve to act as an ideal compass. FTP in itself cannot do anything. It's just a policy. Policy is what? It's the intention of government, and intention without action is nothing. So it can act as an ideal compass. Legislations have to be made, policies have to be launched by government for directing India's foreign trade towards growth. All right. So you have not given any new information. You're just summarizing your answer and you are appreciating FTP that yes, it is a very good compass for India's foreign trade to move it towards growth. Yes, brilliance, advanced authorization point that was discussed in the snippet. Yes, collaboration of all. Brilliance, collaboration of all is required here. Our perspective as Indians, that will also change in the coming years with this foreign trade policy, with this new foreign trade policy. All right. So any doubts coming up here or any more additions coming here? Yes, I know there are a few points which you can add more from this here. Write only those points which you can explain. 6 to 7 points are good to go. But if you cannot explain any of the points, then don't write that, or at least just end that in one line itself. All right. So this is our next question. Examine the need of reforms at World Trade Organization. Answer in 400 words. Who has seen this question earlier as well? How many of you have seen this question or have heard this conversation that reforms are needed in World Trade Organization? How many of you? Sham, I'm not sure about IRDA exam. What you can do is in our description, the phone number of contacting us, contacting EduTap team will appear. You can book a doubt session with the respective faculty there. But yes, for writing good answers, this is the this is the standard approach that we have for all the exams out there. All right, the level of questions that will differ from civil services to RBI to IRDA exams, that will differ always. But for regulatory bodies, this is mostly the same. Okay. Yes. So now examine the need of reforms at World Trade Organization. How many of you have seen this question earlier? Have you seen this question earlier or have you heard of it earlier? All right, I'm sure you at least know about the history of World Trade Organization. Why was it created? When was it created? I think this part is okay, Jacqueline, you've not heard it. See, World Trade Organization has been in news since 2019. And this question has appeared in many exams, that what are the reforms required in WTO? So it is highly likely that it might be seen in your paper as well on 30th. Because World Trade Organization is a very important body, and recently what India did, Indian Prime Minister visited United States of America. So what he did was that there was 6 disputes that were involving India and USA, which were lying with World Trade Organization. But since World Trade Organization's dispute resolution body, it has been inactive since 2019. That's why India and USA solved these 6 disputes on their own. So again, WTO appeared in news. A lot of articles were seen regarding World Trade Organization. Many a times, the role of World Trade Organization has been questioned, because it has been said that it does not promote equality in the world. It is skewed in the favor of developed countries, and developing countries like India or other least developed countries, they are left vulnerable at the hands of WTO. Yes, reforms in multilateral institutions is a priority of G20. Yes, very good, brilliance. So yes, you can use this line in your conclusion. India has assumed presidency of G20. A lot of events are happening all around the country for G20, because India is the president for 1 year. And one of the aims of G20 is reforms in multilateral organizations. That includes your United Nations. That includes your World Trade Organization. All right. All right. Yes, yes, brilliance. Yes, Puneet, hello. So first of all, how will you start this answer? Again, for introduction, we just have few methods. I'll go back to this point. For introduction, we just have a few methods to begin with. How will you write your introduction? Number 1, will you define what is WTO? 2, will you explain what is WTO? And its explain means role, history, aim. Will you start with some example, or will you begin with some data? Write 1, 2, 3 and 4 in the chat section. If you want, you can write multiple options as well. How will you start your introduction? Definition, explanation, example, or data? All right, Jacket. Definition. What will you define in your definition? Will you define World Trade Organization? Is there a definition for World Trade Organization that you can share? Or will you explain and give some data? It's history. History comes in the explanation part, Jacqueline. All right. So WTO, I think any organization cannot be defined. Organization does not have a definition. Organization has a history. Organization has a goal. And organization has some methods to achieve those goals. Sometimes those methods are not liked, so that's why reforms are asked for. So what we can talk about is, when we are writing about WTO, we can talk about WTO's history. First of all, we can start by writing the mandate or the aim of WTO. Then we can talk about how it came into being and what are the components or subcomponents of WTO. Yes, with the importance of WTO as a catalyst for global trade. So let's see how will we approach this introduction. The World Trade Organization is the only global international organization dealing with the rules of trade between nations. This is what the website of WTO says. The official website of World Trade Organization says that it is the only global international organization dealing with the rules of trade between nations. Regional organizations are there, but global organization is just WTO. All right. At its heart are the WTO agreements. That means how it implements these rules. WTO agreements, which are negotiated and signed by bulk of world's trading nations and ratified in their parliaments. The goal is to ensure that trade flows as smoothly, predictably, and freely as possible. So you've told what is WTO, how it functions with the help of some rules which are brought into action by agreements. These agreements happen between nations and they are signed and ratified in their respective parliament. If we have to abide by some rules of WTO, we have to pass a law in our parliament for that rule to be applicable on India. It does not become applicable on its own. Then the goal of WTO, it is to ensure that trade flows smoothly, predictably, and freely as possible. That's right. So yes, we are adhered by WTO norms, but do you think India is able to trade as freely, smoothly, and predictably as is some other developed nation able to trade? No. So yes, now we talk about a little bit about history. The WTO's creation on 1st January 1995 marked the biggest reform of international trade. Before that, GATT was there since the end of Second World War. Since the end of Second World War, coming in of WTO, it marked the biggest reform of international trade. Whereas the GATT mainly dealt with trade in goods. When GATT was there, what was the difference between GATT and WTO? GATT was just an agreement and GATT was dealing only in goods. WTO also deals in services. The people who are working in companies who belong to USA, they are working here in your IT firms. So those services. The WTO and its agreements also cover trade in services, intellectual property. The birth of WTO also created new procedures for settlement of disputes. So here what we are doing, we are just using the help of history. We are explaining WTO more and more. Now just say that it has more than 160 members and represents 98% of global trade. That is almost complete global trade. All the trade that is happening all over the globe, all these nations trading with themselves, they are part of WTO. Catering to needs of all nations often comes with challenges, and hence the following arguments can be made to advocate for reforms in the functioning of WTO. How many of you have understood this introduction? Just type yes, and even if not understood, do you find this introduction justified? Type yes in the chat section. Otherwise, we'll take doubts that what are the problems arising with this introduction. Yes, Jacqueline? Anyone else was understood or not understood? Just type a yes or no. All right, Brilliance has understood. Other people? So many people online. Let me know. All right. So this is our explanation we are starting with for our introduction. All right, Nishant. Explanation, general explanation, then we are moving on to WTO specific explanation. Then we are telling that why this was needed, why WTO was needed, because it deals in intellectual property rights also, goods and services both, and it has dispute resolution mechanisms also. Finally, we said that WTO is very important because 160 members, 160 nations are part of WTO, which represent 98% of global trade. Now the reforms, the challenges with such a big organization, they are natural, and the reforms that are required, that can be studied as follows. So see, we will not be focusing on exact reforms. Or body paragraphs are very easy to write, body parts. First of all, special and differential treatment. Some countries, they declare themselves as developing and they take benefits that are available to developing nations. Others are least developed. Wait. Then we have rule making through consensus. When this consensus happens in rule making, developed countries, since they are rich, they get most of the benefit. Then you have dispute settlement. Dispute settlement or appellate body, it has been non-functioning since 2019. Then shift to plurilateral agreements. You've seen Trans-Pacific Partnership. You've seen Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. You see so many partnerships that rich countries are coming up with trade agreements in themselves. So what will be the role of WTO? And how is WTO countering to this inequality in trade? Most favored nation status. Lopsided agricultural trade rules, the peace clause. Rules for trade-related property rights. Intellectual property rights are a problem. Many countries could not have access to vaccines because of intellectual property rights. Then disparity in subsidies for promoting industries. See, these are the 8 points, 8 broad points. I'll tell you how to write the conclusion because we are running short of time. I'll not focus on the body part here. All right, we have given you 8 points. Download the PDF from Telegram channel and just let us know that if there are any doubts, write under this YouTube video itself. In the conclusion, what will you write? Conclusion is very important here. Will you give a way forward? Will you give a solution? What will you write? Or will you summarize the problems? You cannot write a direction or you cannot dictate WTO because we are just an aspirant sitting for an exam. We cannot dictate. But yes, we can give a simple way forward, a very respectful way forward by summarizing. Yes, that's right. Solution can be given. So WTO is a global body. So we as individuals do not have to give a solution. India has given a solution. India has recently issued a comprehensive proposal called 30 for 30. That means WTO, when did it start? 1995, 1st January 1995. All right. In 2025, WTO will complete 30 years. So basically, India has given 30 recommendations that WTO, you are having your 30th birthday in 2025, 1st January 2025. So these are 30 recommendations I'm presenting to you. Please implement these for more equality in global trade. So yes, a member-led effort to bring at least 30 operational improvements to the WTO before the organization completes its 30 years. That is by 1st January 2025. Starting from 1st January 1995 to 1st January 2025. This proposal aims to improve the functioning of various bodies or committees of WTO to bring about efficiency and effectiveness. Now, solution has been given. This is the solution. Now give some more solutions. What are the problems you've talked about? Agricultural subsidies, industrial subsidies. There is no equality amongst countries. Developed countries are having more say. There are trade agreements happening, regional trade agreements, multilateral trade agreements. So just say that all these problems, they have to be catered to. Strengthening the multilateral character of WTO. Voice of all nations should be heard. Is of prime importance while promoting inclusive growth. Why so much inequality is there in the world? When WTO is existing and it is about to complete 30 years. So inclusive growth. Widening spaces for states. States means nations to pursue national development strategies in the broad framework and principles of a rule-based system. This has to be achieved by addressing the asymmetries in WTO agreements such as agriculture. There are subsidies in agriculture which developed nations are able to provide at a very, they're able to provide more subsidies as compared to countries like India, which actually need to give subsidies. We are not able to do that because of WTO agreements. Agriculture, the subsidies agreement, TRIMS, and the related GATT articles. TRIPS is regarding your intellectual property rights and other areas. The earliest measure. What is the earliest measure that you can take? I told you appellate body has been inactive. Earliest measure would be restoring the appellate body so that countries do not have to resolve disputes amongst themselves. They can approach the appellate body itself. And the two-tier WTO dispute settlement. Activate this again because since 2019 it has been inactive. It's not a good situation. Also, the WTO must allow for different economic models rather than push for one form or the other. We, as a country, we would push for LPG reforms, opening up of our borders. But that hurt our ingrown industries. Ingrown textile industries, they had to be shut because they could not sustain the competition. So, A blanket approach should not be taken for all the nations. Conditions of a nation should be seen, and only then something should be enforced in that nation. All right, so that's your answer for today. The full content would be available in the form of a PDF on our Telegram channel in some time, and you can approach us at this number, that is 8146207241. And if you have any feedback regarding this session, just send us an email at hello@edutab.co.in. All right, we'll be happy to hear from you. The email would take just 2 to 5 minutes of yours. Send us, write to us at hello@edutab.co.in. That helps us know better about your requirements. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow with another session at 3 p.m. Meanwhile, if you have some doubts, just let me know in the chat section. Thank you, Chakun.